We've all seen that simplistic diagram that's become the unofficial mascot of self-help culture, a tiny circle labeled your comfort zone, sitting nervously beside a massive, glittering circle proclaiming where the magic happens. The message is clear and relentless. Your comfort is your enemy. Safety equals stagnation. And the only path to success involves constantly abandoning what feels familiar and secure. But what if this entire framework is not just oversimplified, but fundamentally flawed? What if the most extraordinary work of your life actually happens when you feel safe, supported, and yes, comfortable? I want to let you in on a secret that goes against everything we've been taught. I love my comfort zone. It's not some pathetic little circle I'm trying to escape. It's my headquarters, my operations center, the place from which I launch everything meaningful in my life. In my comfort zone, I have my family who supports me, my friends who challenge me, my work that fulfills me, the music that inspires me, the books that expand me, the routines that ground me. This isn't a place of stagnation. It's a place of power. And from this position of strength and security, I'm actually more open to taking calculated risks, trying new things, and pursuing ambitious goals precisely because I have a solid foundation to return to. The problem with the get out of your comfort zone mantra is that it mistakes discomfort for growth and comfort for laziness. But the research tells a different story. Studies in neuroscience show that we learn best and perform at our highest levels when we're in what's called the optimal anxiety zone, just beyond what's completely familiar, but not so far that we're overwhelmed by stress. Chronic high stress situations, constantly being outside your comfort zone, actually impair cognitive function, creativity, and decision-making. The most innovative companies understand this intuitively. They create environments where employees feel psychologically safe to take risks, not constantly terrified and off balance. Let me be absolutely clear. I'm not advocating for staying put or avoiding growth. Stagnation is indeed a form of death, but there's a crucial distinction between growth that comes from constantly abandoning your foundations versus growth that comes from strategically expanding them. The first approach is like trying to build a skyscraper by constantly moving the foundation. The second approach involves strengthening and expanding that foundation so you can build higher and more stable structures. This is what truly successful people understand. They're not constantly jumping out of their comfort zones. They're systematically expanding them. My own journey illustrates this principle perfectly. For years, I wanted to do what I'm doing now, writing and speaking about productivity and career development. But instead of making a dramatic, terrifying leap into the unknown, I took a slow, methodical path that allowed me to build competence and confidence at each stage. First, I got business degrees to build foundational knowledge. Then, I started a business with my father to gain practical experience. After years of freelancing and starting and sometimes failing other ventures, I took a corporate job to understand that environment. Only after more than a decade of building skills, knowledge, and financial stability did I finally transition to focusing full-time on sharing what I'd learned. At no point did I make a dramatic comfort zone leap. I simply expanded my capabilities until my comfort zone included the work I wanted to do. This approach, what I call the foundation first method, involves building 4 critical pillars before taking any major risk. The first pillar is financial security. The idea that you need to be broke and desperate to be motivated is not just wrong, it's dangerous. Financial stress impairs cognitive function, narrows your thinking, and forces you to make short-term decisions. Having 6 months of living expenses saved doesn't make you complacent. It gives you the freedom to think long-term, make better decisions, and weather inevitable setbacks. This isn't about being rich, it's about being resilient. The second pillar is skill stacking. One of the reasons I don't worry excessively about money is that I've invested years in developing valuable, transferable skills. Even if everything fell apart tomorrow, I trust my ability to create value and find work. The question isn't, how can I get out of my comfort zone? But what skills can I develop that will make me valuable regardless of circumstances? This skill stack becomes your professional safety net, allowing you to take smarter risks because you know you have something to fall back on. The third pillar is relationship capital. Strong connections with family and close friends aren't a distraction from success. They're the foundation of it. These relationships provide emotional support, honest feedback, and practical help when you need it most. The myth of the lone wolf succeeding through sheer force of will is just that, a myth. Sustainable success is built on networks of support and collaboration. The fourth pillar is self-knowledge. This might be the most important element. Understanding whether you're an introvert or extrovert, whether you thrive on stability or variety, What environments energize you versus drain you? This self-awareness allows you to build a life and career that works with your nature rather than constantly fighting against it. If you're an introvert, forcing yourself into highly social, constantly changing environments isn't getting out of your comfort zone. It's setting yourself up for burnout. If you're an extrovert, trying to work in isolation isn't challenging yourself. It's denying your fundamental needs. The alternative to the get out of your comfort zone mentality is what I call the comfort zone expansion model. Instead of constantly abandoning what makes you feel secure, you focus on gradually stretching your boundaries in sustainable ways. This might mean taking on a slightly more challenging project at work rather than quitting your job to start a business. It might mean having a difficult conversation with one person rather than trying to become a public speaker overnight. It means recognizing that growth happens in the space just beyond what's completely comfortable, not in some distant land of total uncertainty. The practical implementation of this approach involves what I call margin pushing, consciously operating at about 5–10% beyond your current capabilities rather than 100% beyond them. If you normally handle projects of a certain size, take on one that's slightly larger. If you're comfortable speaking in meetings of 5 people, volunteer to present to 10. If you exercise regularly, increase your intensity or duration by a small percentage. These marginal expansions allow you to grow without the paralyzing stress that comes from dramatic leaps. Another key practice is what I term secure base venturing, using your comfort zone as a home base from which you launch brief expeditions into new territory. This might look like keeping your stable job while starting a side business, maintaining your current living situation while exploring new cities, or sticking with your core skills while learning new ones. The security of your foundation actually enables more creativity and risk-taking because the stakes feel manageable. Perhaps the most important mindset shift is redefining what comfort means. Comfort isn't laziness or avoidance. It's the state of being resourced enough to do your best work. When your basic needs for security, connection, and competence are met, you have the psychological bandwidth to be creative, take smart risks, and think long-term. Discomfort, when chronic, narrows your focus to survival thinking. The goal isn't to eliminate all discomfort. That's impossible. But to ensure that most of your time is spent operating from a place of strength rather than desperation. The beautiful truth that contradicts conventional self-help wisdom is that your comfort zone isn't where growth stops. It's where growth becomes sustainable. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't those who constantly live in states of high anxiety and uncertainty. They're those who've built such solid foundations that they can take bigger risks with confidence. They've expanded their comfort zones to include what others find terrifying. So I invite you to reconsider your relationship with your comfort zone. Stop seeing it as something to escape and start seeing it as something to strengthen and expand. Build your financial foundation. Develop valuable skills. Nurture strong relationships. Understand your nature. Make small, consistent pushes at the margins of your capabilities. Use your security as a platform for growth rather than seeing it as an obstacle. The magic doesn't happen when you abandon everything that makes you feel safe. It happens when you build a life so solid that you can afford to dream big. Your comfort zone isn't your enemy. It's your greatest asset. Treat it that way and watch what becomes possible.